In this upload, I'm going to be sharing 6 picks with you for Saturday, the 5th of April. Now, I don't have anything in the English Premier League this week because I think it's going to be very difficult. However, we do have the German Bundesliga, we have the Spanish La Liga, we have France La Ligue, and we've got Italy Serie A. We've also got Swedish Allsvenskan, which we're particularly good in, and the MLS. If that's what you want, keep it here. Let's crack on. In Italy Serie A, we're going to be betting on the match between AC Milan and Fiorentina. This is the 8th against the 9th. Fiorentina have a 4-point cushion and they did win the reverse game. However, you've got to take into consideration Fiorentina next week on Thursday night are going to be playing in the quarterfinals of the Conference League Cup. So that's the European competition and they're going to be wanting to win that. They're going to see a big opportunity there for themselves, even though they will have Chelsea at some stage, I guess. But here's the thing, right? AC Milan playing at home, they've actually won the last 4 meetings against this opponent when they've been in this stadium, and not only that, they actually started to find a little bit of form again. So we should also take on board that Fiorentina have been losing away games. They lost the last 3 and one of those was to Verona. So even though they've bounced back to beat Atalanta and Juventus in recent league games, you know, with this sort of mindset that that big game's coming up, and also they're travelling, they're not particularly good on the road. We can see AC Milan taking this game and at odds of 1.96, fantastic value. We see this as a must. In France La Ligue, we're going to be betting on the match between Brest and Monaco. Now, Brest are 8th in the table, had an extraordinarily good season, and Monaco are actually 2nd at the moment. Now, they've got teams chasing them down, so they're going to have to keep playing at the top level to make sure that they qualify for next season's Champions League. That's obviously a big thing, you know, big prize money at the end of the day. In the last round, Adiota's team beat Nice 2-1, and they should have actually won that derby match by even more. And we have to say that we thought they performed particularly well that day, especially after suffering a couple of recent setbacks. So even though they've got like a couple of injured players for this game, you know, the likes of Monaco, they do know how to travel. They're not massively advantaged from when they're playing at home because of the actual small stadium. You know, they're in the Principality, they don't get massive crowds, and they do tend to perform better when playing away. And as far as Brest go, they did win their last game against Toulouse 2-4, and that was a fantastic result, don't get us wrong. But if you actually look at the XG, the expected goals from that game, it does point to them being very fortunate indeed, right? So Brest, you know, a mid-table team at best, in all fairness, and Monaco, a Champions League team coming to town. We see this as a massive opportunity, and we're actually surprised to find odds of 2. This is fantastic value, and you're going to have to take it. In the German Bundesliga, we're going to be betting on the match between Werder Bremen and Frankfurt. So this is the 12th against the 3rd. Now, Frankfurt, they're obviously chasing down a Champions League spot, so it's a big thing. They won the last 2 games after going through a bit of a slump, and they do look to be bouncing back to their best form. Now, they're a little bit different in the way that they actually play the game to Werder. Werder are more flamboyant. They will take their chances. That's why the score lines in their games recently have been pretty high. Frankfurt take a more pragmatic approach. They will be building from the back. You know, they will be actually just creating that sort of pressure drop on the home team, and we think that's going to be a big advantage. We should also point out that Werder haven't been particularly good at home this season. They've been actually getting more points on the road. They're just the 14th best home team, whereas Frankfurt, they've been doing fair away, and we do know that they know how to counter punch. If we look at Ole Werner's men, right, 13 points they actually took from those home games, and that compares to 21 away for Frankfurt. So even though Frankfurt are missing some key players for this game, that's been the case for a while now. They actually won the last 2 games without these players, so we don't see that necessarily being a deal breaker. And the great thing is, of course, you can get the draw no bet here, which means you're going to get your money back if it's a draw, but if Frankfurt win, you will win. So we're going to be taking the 1.88, that is our recommendation on this match. 1.88 Frankfurt draw no bet. If you want a sure way to profit, check out Pinnacle Odds Dropper. This tool is fantastic. It's going to give you a major advantage over the sportsbooks that you're betting with by tracking the falling odds with Pinnacle Sports, the sharpest sports book in the world, and then removing the vigorish, giving you benchmark odds that you need to beat. If you find bigger odds, you will profit. It's as simple as that. Do you want to be a big player in this game, or do you want to carry on losing? That is the question. Check out Pinnacle Odds Dropper. Europa. In the Swedish Allsvenskan, one of our top bets is going to be on the match between Sirius and Djurgården. Now, just 68 kilometres separate these two stadiums, so this is not going to be a long journey for the visitors. Now, we've got to say that Djurgården, they have a much bigger following, and where Sirius only normally sort of get 5,000 or 6,000 in their stadium, they do sort of tend to get sort of 10,000 when this team comes to town, right? So bear that in mind. You know, the home advantage is going to be slender. We should also mention that even though Djurgården lost their season opener to Malmo, they should have won that game. They had so many chances. They had 17 shots, but none of them finished in the back of the net. So Onkavara's obviously got some work to do with his strikers, but we have to say that this team has much more class than Sirius the host. Now, if we look, actually, Sirius did win the opener and they did win against Varnamo 1-2. It was a fair result. I mean, it probably could have been more of a draw, you know, looking at the XG from that game, the expected goals, but we have to say that they did take their opportunities, and fair play to them, they took the 3 points. But with that said, they have sold one of their best players during the off-season, and we think that's going to have sort of a long-term impact. They've only got 24 players into this squad, and, you know, if you actually go through them, they don't have much in terms of quality, and we have to say that, you know, Djurgården this season are going to be chasing that championship. They've got no European football to play because they only finished 4th in the table last season. They're much better than that. They were the 2019 champions, and they have actually got a strong squad. We are expecting this team to come good this season, and, you know, odds of 206 to win what is amounts to sort of local derby Swedish style is definitely good odds. So take Djurgården to get this game 2.06. In Spain, La Liga, we're going to be betting on the match between Mallorca and Celta Vigo. Now, Celta Vigo won the reverse game, and that's why they're one place above Mallorca, actually in the table. They're 8th and 9th as it stands. Now, the thing is, they share the same amount of points, so, you know, no difference there. And Celta Vigo do come into this game on the back of a 7-match unbeaten run. With that said, they could only draw with Las Palmas in the last round. They didn't perform particularly well, and we're expecting them to get found out at some stage. Now, travelling to the San Juan is not going to be easy. Mallorca took 23 points at home this season. That compares favourably with the 10 that Celta Vigo actually took on the road. Even though they're missing Samu for this game, we don't think that's going to be particularly important. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because actually, Mallorca are 3-2-1 when he didn't play. They actually won 3 of the games, only lost 1, and we have got the draw no bet in this match. So we're going to be taking a Mallorca ±0, which is the draw no bet. You get your money back if it's a draw at odds of 1.90. One of the matches that we're going to be betting in the MLS is between Charlotte and Nashville. Now, the thing is with the MLS, you know, it's got a reputation for being a big advantage for the home teams, and even though it didn't work out that way last season with just 44.83% of matches being won by the actual host, we do think it's going to have a bit more of a swing towards the home team again this season. Anyway, Charlotte, they've actually started, they've proven their point, they've actually won their 3 home games, all by 2-0 scorelines. They beat FC Cincinnati, they beat San Jose Earthquakes, and they also beat Atalanta, all by 2-0. And if you go back to last season, actually Dean Smith's team, they took 32 points at home, and that compares favourably with the 15 that Nashville actually took away, today's opponent. Now, Nashville, they did win an away game this season. They've already beat Philadelphia, but it was totally fortunate. Even though the 1-3 scoreline suggests there was some distance between the two teams, the fact of the matter is, if you look at the XG from that game, the expected goals, it says that they were very fortunate indeed. We'll go back to the last campaign. Charlotte actually won this fixture 1-0, and would expect sort of similar scoreline again this time round. You can get Charlotte at odds of 2.04. We do think that's a cracking value, you know, considering that they've already won the 3 home games, the travelling distance for Nashville to get here, and the MLS scenario. So that's one of our bets. So we're going to be betting Charlotte at odds of 2.04. Get on them now. If you want our best tips daily, check out our website, betanalyst.com. We post daily fresh tips for you so you can profit from sports betting. So that's our 6 games. It's a wrap. But I would just leave you with this one message. Make sure you work on getting the very best odds. Without getting the best odds, you won't win at gambling. It's as simple as that, right? Betting is all about the odds. Concentrate on that. You're through to boot camp again. Catch you in the next one soon. Bye.